All that shit, right? That's the end of the quick shots. Let's get into some of the main topics. So the first one we got is PS5, and of course the PS5 is awesome. We know that, right? But basically, they've got an accomplishment that they've done, right? So now they're no longer selling the PS5 disc version at a loss. So that's a good thing. I mean, the majority of both of these consoles, the Xbox Series X and the PS5, have been selling their consoles at a loss because they're trying to get people into it. It's a new, edition or whatever. But, PlayStation has finally been able to, I guess, reach how much they've put into this, and now they're starting to get some back on these.
Yeah,
now, the digital is still selling at a loss, right?
Yeah, we talked about this a long time ago.
They had to be, right? Because of what's in it. They had to be selling.
We've talked about this quite a bit. We thought possibly the PS5 was not selling for a loss because we always were like, okay, if the digital's $400 and the disc is $500, we know for certain
a whole $100 for $50 and
for
that
a
ain't
disc.
The disc drive.
Yeah, there's no way the disc drive in and of itself, that one component, is $100.
Right.
Because you're just popping these off the assembly line. This has got to be probably at $50 at most, probably 40. So I was thinking, we were thinking,
you gotta think bulk, man, probably 25.
Yeah, we were thinking bulk. Like we were thinking, like there's just no way that the PS5, is really a huge lot. There's no way it's $100 more for that.
Right.
So we were thinking maybe they're making money on the PS5 disc. Well, come to find out, they weren't. They were selling that at a loss, which means we know for certain they were selling the digital at a loss. And now we've learned that they're still selling the digital at a loss. Only the disc edition has finally become profitable. And I think so. We were dead right. That means that disc is not really worth a whole lot.
No.
Because it's worth $100 more. So that means whatever was costing them a lot has come down.
Yeah.
But not enough, right, to offset like the digital edition. Because really, in all actuality, there really is almost nothing different between the disc and digital.
No,
except
it's literally
the
just
disc.
that optical drive. Yeah.
Everything else is the same. And so it makes sense that like the $100 is a big leap, right? That's a lot of component value.
Right.
Because you have to, bridge that $100 gap. So it makes sense that the disc edition is finally profitable and the digital isn't. But of course, like we were also saying and speculating, was that they are being sold at a loss to manufacture, but it's being offset by their margin-rich software and hardware sales, of course, like with digital. Because on a digital, you buy everything digital. So that's very margin-rich. Like they make the most off digital,
right? I'm going to sell you this console, at a loss to me, but you're going to have to buy the games and you're getting them from me. So, that's going
exactly. Which is why I think they were fine. And which is why I think we can go back to our speculation. I honestly think Sony was expecting to sell the PS5 disc for $600 and the digital for $500.
Probably.
That's what I think they were doing until Microsoft, because they launched first,
do a little pivot.
And they had to pivot and take a larger loss. Like they're finally catching up now, slowly. They still haven't on the digital yet, but you can see that they probably never really intended to sell both of their consoles at losses. You know, because these things are mad powerful, man. Like that's lots of solid state drive they're giving you. These are massively expensive, CPUs, GPUs.
Right.
The hardware is hefty on these things, man. The Xbox too. Like I'd be curious to find out how much Xbox is losing on their Series X.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure
S.
it will pop out at some point soon, right?
Right.
They'll definitely declare when they are no longer selling at a loss or something like that. As soon as they catch a wind of this, oh shit, they talking? Like, oh no, we ain't selling at a loss either. You know what I mean? Or something like that. But
yeah, absolutely.
I think, but what I think is that this disc version finally being no longer sold at a loss, I think that the digital is right behind it, because like we're saying, like that disc drive, that optical drive is not that much more.
No, it's not.
So it can't, that extra 100 is just to counteract some of the blow for how much it's costing them. But I don't think that it's that much more. So I feel like they probably need like a couple more sales of some shit, and and the digitals will no longer be sold at a
I
loss.
think this is why we keep hearing all this news about like the smaller nano chip, how they're making the new digital. We talked
Right?
about it, I think, last or the week before.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
new slider, the lighter PS5
lighter
digital,
PS5.
and we were wondering why. Why is it just focused on the digital? Like, why is the digital?
wouldn't it be on the disc?
Yeah, why not both? Well, obviously because that's the one they're struggling with.
Yeah.
That's the one that they're not able to get down below cost yet.
Right.
And they've done it on the disc
I'm sure
already,
they're going to
so-
change it on the disc, right? I think it's going to
At some point in time, they will, but there's
Yeah.
not an urgency for it. There's
Right.
urgency. They're like, come on, we're selling these things at a loss.
Right.
Which is also why I think, well, I mentioned this before earlier, why I think that there wasn't a lot of digitals available at launch. Remember how like those are like really hard to find?
Mm-hmm.
You can find discs much easier than you can find the digital versions of them.
But at some point there was more possibilities for digital editions, and we were saying that they were trying to get out more of the digital just because
Right.
it would give them more revenue on the back end.
Yes,
than it
they
would
do
up
want to
front,
sell
though.
digitals, I think, for their overall like we were talking about before, for their overall outlook.
Right.
Digitals are better, but we talked about this too. They want to make sure they get that below cost before they start to really push it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that's why, because when they first launched these things, they're like, let's hold off on these digitals for a minute because we're losing money on every one of these that we sell.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we can hold these back a bit, make them cheaper, get them below cost, then we can really push these guys out.
Yeah.
I remember reading a lot of people are like, gosh, I really want a digital version because all I can afford is $400 right now, and you just couldn't find them.
That's
and like
suicide.
that's
I was telling one of my friends the other day, because they were thinking about getting their kid a PS5 or whatever, and I was like, just don't do the digital, just get the disc. Like it's like, yeah, it's $100 more, and whatever your taxes is gonna be now, but you'll end up paying well over that 100 in the long term. You know what I mean? When you
well
look at
over it.
every
Thousands
game that
probably.
your kid might possibly want to get, like, even if you was to get it now, right, and then they only played Fortnite for for the next 6 months, all of the games that come out, they're going to be old by the time that they decide that they don't want to play Fortnite anymore. They want to play a different game. And you'll be able to get those used.
PSN will keep them at the full price.
Right. Yeah, the PSN isn't going to drop. Or if it does drop, it's only going to be at certain points.
Very
like
rare.
A summer sale or like a holiday sale of some sort, but like random times during the year. And you got to buy it then or it's going right back up. You know what I mean? But like once you got an option for a disc, you can find that on OfferUp. You can find that on eBay. You can find that on
You have a million
GameStop.
avenues.
You know what I
like
mean?
how
Yeah.
did you find Demon Souls? How did you looked on OfferUp and you negotiated down really low.
Right.
Or like you found that great deal for Legion. Like that's completely you close yourself off to that joy of
Yeah.
having all those choices and options. And then if you want, you can even resell your software
and get some of that back.
and get some of that back on the back end, which is what I like to do.
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, that's what like the recommendation is, like, because if let's say there was more competition in the digital marketplace, then maybe you could see yourself going digital, but there isn't. You're stuck in a monopoly. Like
Right.
Sony has you by the nuts, like you ain't going anywhere. You're
By the
you're trying to move and you're just you can't do nothing because there's nowhere else to go.
Right.
Which is why they had that lawsuit. But that's why like I strongly advise. It's a little different for Microsoft. If you're doing Game Pass, then I can see an argument to be made for like the Series S.
Yeah.
But still, I would still recommend going with the disc version on even the Xbox because
Because
I
we're
even
talking
bought a
about-
disc and
we were
I
talking about the expansion. You know what I mean? Just getting more.
The hard
storage
drive is
because
enough.
You've
Yeah.
got a huge amount chalked off just by getting the S. And if you ever wanted to get an upgrade, there's only one upgrade, and it's $220.
Exactly.
You might as well just pay the $200 or whatever, the extra $200 to get the one with the disc. And you'd never have
Right.
to worry about that. Yeah, as far as the other games, as far as like game access and stuff like that, there's many avenues.
The arguments are
that you
different
can
for
go.
both systems, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
the argument for why you buy a disc version of PS5
Right.
is different than the argument why you buy the
Why you
disc
buy a
version
disc
for
for
the
the
S,
Xbox.
for the X and S.
Right,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But both arguments are still buy the better one.
Yeah, and I
Right.
mean, Xbox has a little bit more leeway, right? Because if you're totally okay with just deleting, more times, more often, you know what I mean? Because you might be able to get just like, 2 or 3 games on at a time, depending on how big they are. But if you're okay with deleting them because like you play games till you beat them and then you move on and you're never going to play that game again, then by all means just stick with the S, and work with that. But if you were ever contemplating, hey, I might want to expand my my storage to get more, or just get that 1 terabyte. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and like I think you'd really be like kicking yourself, right? Like if you bought the S and you thought, nah, I'll never expand it. 2 years come along, 3 years come down the road, and you're like, gosh, man, I really kind of wish I had more space. And you end up going and buying that card, you'll kind of be kicking yourself. Because you'll be like, gosh, now I've spent more money in the long run than I would have had I just bought the X to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it kind of situation.
Right.
Like I would just really, I would jump to the 500 and you'll be happy for the whole life cycle of this generation.
For sure. And then some more news about PS5 was that it seems like their number of subscriptions for PS Plus has gone down like a huge amount.
Pretty big.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But there's also
in like 1 quarter.
Right, but there's also a logical reason for this. I mean, at the start of COVID,
they lost
1 point something million,
1.3 million subscribers.
Yeah,
have unsubbed from PS Plus.
But I mean, it's like, okay, there was a large influx of PS Plus subscribers once COVID hit and everybody was locked down, right? They had the Play at Home initiative. Game Pass was on a ramp up, with putting more games out there, giving people reasons or things to do instead of going stir crazy when they're in the house. You know what I mean? So I could see how those 3-month subscriptions or whatever would start to increase tenfold. You know what I mean? Because everybody's at home and you got mad free games to play and things like that. But as COVID is technically gone down, on the Legiancy, there's more people getting vaccinated and things like that, so they're trying to open up more or whatever and give people breathing room. People got to go back to work, so you got less time to play. So then, it's like, oh, that 3-month subscription, like, or that 1 month subscription I was getting, I don't need that right now because I'm not playing as much. So it's gone down. They did say, and this was an article that we read off of Gamer Rant that was talking about this, but they did say that the people were still keeping their eye on the PlayStation Plus subscriptions. The only thing that I could hope good would come out of this is that they try to ramp up the value more of the PlayStation Plus
to recapture those subs again,
right? Yeah. To get a buzz back and get some of those people who might have just like gone off of it, because I think I've talked to Brahms about this a couple of times and he's like almost ready for his PlayStation Plus to lapse, just because he found out that there's certain games that you can play without actually having PlayStation Plus, even though you got them through PlayStation Plus.
The multiplayer games, right?
I think it was like that
online
like,
games.
I think some of the games like Days Gone or some of the ones that they just gave you for free, like it didn't require you to have PlayStation Plus on it, so you could still play it.
Oh,
like even if you weren't signed in or something like that. So I think he's banking on that. So I hope it still works out for him if he does let it lapse. But I mean, really, like for me, it's kind of like, I just wait on a deal for the PlayStation Plus subscription to pay like $30 or 36, 30, around $40. And then, you got it for a whole year. So you never have to worry about it. It's definitely not as taxing as it is for like Game Pass.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I do think a lot of people don't realize that you can find a subscription to PS Plus for really cheap.
Right.
I think they just go to the PSN and they see a 3-month deal. I'll do that right now since I'm home off work, and I'll play these free games on the collection or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then, like, you're right. I think, like, okay, I'm going back. I do think that that's a big part of it. I think that a lot of people were at home, and so you saw this spike. Because if you look quarter over quarter, so if you look at previous year's quarter before COVID really hit,
right,
they're still up from there. So they lost like 1.5 million people almost, and they're still up from quarter over quarter. So pre-COVID. So clearly COVID had an impact. They got a boost from COVID.
For sure.
But I do think that people, if they realize that you can buy a whole year for like 30-something bucks, it's totally worth it. Like, even if you can't play as much as you were playing, like, it's still totally worth it because you're gonna get all those free games for the whole year.
Yeah.
And it's $30. So it's like, I just think, like, look for the deals. We always, whenever we find them, we throw them to each other. Like, whenever we find deals, we mention them to each other, and like, we're always looking when it's time to re-up. It's like, hey, you find a deal? Yeah, here's one for $35. It's like, cool. A whole year for $30. But I also do think, like, when people are examining their subscription list, because we all have them. I got Disney Plus, I got Netflix. Which one of these am I getting rid of? Right? I'm not going to be at home as much to watch these. Which one of these? I think PS Plus is considered a little bit more of a luxury than like Netflix. Netflix is becoming more of like a staple.
I mean,
than like a
especially
bonus.
if you don't have like cable or
if you don't have cable, like
anything,
Netflix is like a staple.
Yeah.
Where like PS Plus is like, that's like just a luxury. It's like a bonus, right? Like that's just kind of like a cherry on top. I don't really need this.
Right.
And I think when you're examining all your subscription services, PlayStation's at the bottom, and that's the first one to go. But it's still so cheap.
It's still cheaper than
it
all
is.
of them.
It's still
like,
so cheap.
Even if you got like the lowest Netflix subscription or the lowest Disney Plus subscription, you're still paying less. You can pay less. Even if you didn't find a deal, if you paid the $50, you're still paying less than what it would accumulate to at the end of the year for you paying for that Disney Plus.
Absolutely, which is why I think more people need to get the word out there that you can find deals on these whole year subscription things.
Yeah, and if that's something you guys want, if we see the deals or whatever, you know what I mean, and we've possibly used them or something like that, we can drop links down in the videos if that's what you guys want. Because I've purchased many of them from like eBay or just like random sites where I was just like, I've never heard of this fucking site, but it's selling this shit for like $30.
Exactly.
That's a damn good deal.
And they just email you the
Let
code.
Me Google, like, is this site legit? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I get pluses. All right, then I'm just gonna buy from it and see how it goes. But most of it's like digital. You wait like maybe an hour and you got it. You know what I mean? Or even quicker than that. So,
exactly. That's how I do it. Or Black Friday come around, I find lots of good deals on Black Friday.
Dude.
$30.
I've just realized that, like, if you look at the grand scheme of things, right? Even if you were to try to compare it, like, an Xbox Game Pass subscription to a PlayStation Plus subscription, you're getting way more bang for your buck on a PlayStation Plus subscription.
You are, really, you are.
Xbox. I mean, yeah, like, you're paying $15 a month for this Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription, and you have a shitload of games to, like, play and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like,
$30,
you're not really, like, playing all of them. You're
right?
Playing some of them, but if you stop, you don't have those games anymore. But PlayStation Plus is allowing you to have all of those games. I mean, obviously, you won't be able to play them if you don't have the PlayStation Plus subscription. But if, like, down the line you were like, oh, let me renew my PlayStation Plus subscription again.
Right.
I got a little extra bread. Let me splurge. All those games are now playable. And so, like, as long as you kept adding on the catalog, it just, you can come back to it at any point in time. And as long as you can sign in, it's still yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's like
comes in and it goes.
There's always like something new, even for someone like us or like hardcore gamers. It always seems like every month that they announce the new games for the month, like at least one of them is new. I haven't played.
Yeah.
And they're relatively recent games. Like, even the most recent one had that Hunter's Arena Legends. Like, that one looks pretty cool. And that's brand new day one.
Right?
Yeah, PS5 day one.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, if that's all I had was my PS Plus subscription, I didn't have Game Pass or whatever, I got something to play every month. Every month I have something new to play. And it's like you're saying, I do. I think I agree with you. While, like, on paper, it looks like the Game Pass is just like trouncing the PS Plus as far as value.
Yeah.
But in reality, $30, you're getting games that you're going to be playing that lines up more with reality. Yeah, like lines up with what you can actually fit into a month.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you're paying, if you're getting, like, let's say you do like lowest price scenario, right? Like $7. That's $21 of worth of games each month. that you're
Exactly.
getting,
Yeah.
and you paid like $30 for it, or you paid $50 for it.
Even if you paid the full
gotten
50,
that money
right?
back and then
Yeah, even
some.
if you paid the full 50, you're loving the deal you're getting.
Yeah.
You know?
Now with Game Pass, you have to make sure that you play like a large number of the games.
Make sure you
to
play
make
a
it
couple
worth it.
games every month.
Yeah,
Make
because
sure
you're
you
paying
do.
that 15,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And that 15 is hefty. But
Exactly.
so I understand people, not wanting to get the Game Pass or whatever, or get the Game Pass Ultimate or something like that. But it's just like, damn, I might reduce my Game Pass
To just console?
to just the console
Yeah.
only, because like I
thought
definitely
about that
ain't
too.
using the fucking cloud. Like,
Yeah,
the
I don't
cloud
use the
is
cloud.
dumb.
I got the Ultimate because I intended to really be using the cloud.
Yeah.
And once I tried it, I wasn't happy with
Well,
it.
I had also got the Ultimate because you could do like the console cloud and then possibly PC.
And we
or
did try
whatever.
some PC
Yeah.
game nights with BLG, but for the most part, I stick to the console.
Yeah. I
9
only do
times out of
console.
10,
Right.
So
I mean, but I've got mine's locked in because I chose to get the little payment plan for the Xbox Series
right,
X.
because you get a deal
So,
on the
like, you get
console.
two
Yeah, you're gonna end
years
up paying less
for
on
that.
your console in the end for that.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
like the great deal, which I wanted to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but I just couldn't find it.
yeah, so-
But yeah, I think when your time is up, switching to the 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely switch
and,
to the lower one because I definitely don't use the cloud. And honestly, the remote play on the console has been working beautifully. Like I literally will have like my iPad and a PlayStation 4 controller, and then I'll just sign in, hook my iPad up to my phone, or if you got the cell service iPad, the 5G iPad or whatever, you could do that, and then you just sign in, turn on your console, and then play from your console. And as long as you got like 3 good bars, you're able to play
from
pretty
console
good.
to that.
Yeah, console straight
And
to
that's
the
what you
iPad.
do
And
because you probably go out in
that's
the living room
better
or
than the
whatever.
cloud
Right? Yeah,
has ever been.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do the cloud, but that makes a lot more sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you're just
so-
going over your own internet so your console's doing all the heavy lifting, which is what we want.
Right.
But you can go to another room, right?
Yeah, and you're just hoping
Yeah.
that your signal is good enough so that it's not lag or anything like that.
Right.
Because it can't hit you. But like I said, if you got like 4 bars, 3-4 bars, you playing good.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no
Right.
problems on it. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it for that one. So let's move